Hi, I'm Lila, and today I'll be reading quotes and giving commentary on Neville Goddard's 1959 lecture, The Law. It may take 30 seconds to enact your drama, and another 60 seconds to realize it. We must not forget how easy and fast it can be, because it is only a dream and you are reacting to the dream, and you do not know that you are the dreamer and causing all the dream. Often when we have great fear or anger or heartbreak, we're so deep in the dream. And the last thing we want to do is look in the mirror. And it's something that has to be thought of beyond the rational mind. Because the whole world, the phenomena of creation, and all its greatness, the mysteries we don't even know, it can only be known by a divine intuition and wisdom. Neville says, "The whole vast world is no more than man's imagining pushed out. I must qualify that by saying that the world outside of man is dead, but man is a living soul, and it responds to man. Yet man is sound asleep and does not know it. The Lord God placed man in a profound sleep, and as he sleeps, the world responds as in a dream. For man does not know he is asleep, and then he moves from a state of sleep where he is only a living soul to a awakened state where he is a life-giving spirit. And now he can himself create, for everything is responding to an activity in man which is imagination. The eternal body of man is all imagination. That is God himself." Blake. When you look around you even now, or as you go about your day, and you pause for a second, and you wonder about Neville's words, is this really a dream? Could I suspend all the activity that I'm currently seeing? When you look all around you, the world fills with life. But what if you're the creator, the sustainer, and also the destroyer, once you become lucid and conscious, and you master the art of creation, sustaining, and destruction? Look around you now. What do you see? What are the things that go on in your life and in the world? And how does it feel to know that if it wasn't for your divine consciousness sustaining all, the world would be dead? We are all sinners, for we are all missing the mark, and the mark is to awaken. Are you ready to spiritually awaken? Are you ready to move beyond all that you've ever known, of the rules of cause and effect, and to see in a spiritual sense what the mystics say, create the world? The whole world is responsive to what we are thinking. What are you thinking now? Are you aware of the thoughts you think throughout the day? Step up from being a human and awake as a god, and start by becoming aware of what thoughts and feelings you allow to be entertained in the garden of your mind. Real are the dreams of gods, as they slowly pass their pleasure in a long immortal dream. When man completely awakens, he dreams his pleasure and everything responds while he dreams it. Neville says, "We think everything in the world is completely independent from our perception of it, but the whole thing is dead. I see it and come upon it, but the whole thing is dead, frozen. Then I start an activity within me, and then the world that was dead becomes alive. But not knowing I am doing it, I am sound asleep, and then the whole thing takes over and it becomes a nightmare. But I must keep control and know it is dependent on me. The world is infinite response, and the thing that makes it alive is the living soul called generic man, male-female. And then God wove himself into the brain of this generic man, and then he sleeps. As man begins to awaken, he controls and takes over, and is no longer a victim of his vision. So he has control of his attention. Everyone is free to create his world as he wants it, if he knows that the whole thing is responding to him. So just remember, when you feel helpless in the world, know that you have fallen asleep deeply in the dream of life. To awaken, become aware. And to become aware, learn to become still, silent, observe without absorbing. It's a hard pill to swallow sometimes, when Neville says that everything comes in response to our own wonderful imaginal activity, because sometimes the things that come aren't always so wonderful. But to possess such a tool with such a power to create life, that in itself is wondrous. Neville goes on to warn you. If you react based on the past, you continue in the same pattern. To be the man you desire to be, you must create the scene, and the whole world will be convulsed if that is necessary to bring it to pass. There is no other power but God had to forget he was God in this state of sleep, and then he awakens and consciously determines the conditions he wants in the world. And if you are this God that Neville speaks of, as you are waking with these words, what are the conditions you want in the world? Are you ready to create that scene? And are you ready to let go of reacting to the past so the energy can be released and the past can fade away? The angels rejoice over your awakening. Neville says, I say this without pride. They also rejoice because I kept my promise that I would come and awaken the sleeper in the world of men. For I also had to forget everything to become man. For when one goes and then returns, he has to forget everything to become man. But he promises he will carry out his pledge and help man awaken. Then the living soul becomes a life-giving spirit and then creates. We don't want to be just a lost dreamer in the dream of life and suffering, until the suffering of boredom or pain is enough to wake us up to be the life-giving spirit that we are, filled with the intuition and wisdom of Neville and other great mystics, their words personally realized. Neville says, take it seriously. Do not go through this with your dream unacted. It may take 30 seconds to enact your drama and another 60 seconds to realize it. You tell yourself it must take time. What time? Read Corinthians 1:18. I could go before men with all the words of wisdom, but know only one thing, the cross. To the wise it is foolishness. What is the cross? Think of it in this light. You began, seemingly, in your mother's womb and end in the grave. You do not, but you have that picture. Look on the horizontal line of the cross as time, intersecting this vertical line, and call that infinite states, like Jacob's ladder. At any section of time, I can move up or down. Time is flowing, and the state that which I am identified still unfolds. So while seated in my car, I can move up and enact a drama. I acted and remain within that state. It unfolded. It took 60 seconds. There were infinite states intersecting the line of time. We become one with a certain state, and it demonstrates itself in actual phenomena. Everyone here, it need not take you more than 30 seconds to bring... Everyone here, it need not take you more than 30 seconds to bring about a change of state. What would it be like? And you name your desire. Remain in that state. And that state, by the passage of time, will unfold in your world. You do nothing about it once you have entered the state, for the outer must move by compulsion of the inner power. Neville did share a story of a woman who wanted to pick up a passenger. So she enacted in imagination, successfully picking up a passenger and hearing their story. She did this in like 30 seconds. And 60 seconds later, when her car stopped, a little old lady taps on it, asking for a ride. And she's able to give this lady a ride. And this lady tells her just what she had imagined in her own imagination minutes ago. The universe is infinite response. When you know there is no one in the whole world who could ever faze you, because he is a shadow. Neville says, I've seen the whole world dead, completely frozen, and then I allowed something within me to start, and everything became animated. Then you ask yourself a million questions. Who am I? What is it all about? Why? Everything here is responding to the imaginal activity within man. Neville says, leave the good and evil and eat of the tree of life. Nothing in the world is untrue if you want it to be true. You are the truth of everything that you perceive. I am the truth and the way, the life revealed. If I have physically nothing in my pocket, then in imagination I have much, but that is a lie based on fact. But truth is based on the intensity of my imagination, and then I will create it in my world. Should I accept the facts and use them as to what I should imagine? No. You should bear whatever you desire. If you want to be happily married, you should be. The world is only a response. If you want money, get it. Everything is a dream anyway. When you awake and know that you are creating and that you are creating it, that is a different thing. So why don't we pause now for a moment and reflect on Neville's words? There may be all these facts of lives. Some we don't want to be so. And if we have this power of imagination that can break free from the facts of life, and perhaps, as these great mystics like Neville are saying, is what really creates reality, our imagination. What facts do you want to break? What would you imagine instead? Can you take this into your sleep, practice and make perfect? Allow your imagination to become joyously intense. Don't overdo it. You don't want to manifest more effort, as Neville's taught before. Or maybe you prefer to do it in the morning or some other time in the day, after a meal or on a walk in nature, or when you have some extra time or commute time, whatever's fine. In closing, Neville says, do not take this story lightly, which I have told you tonight. Take it to heart. Tonight, when you are driving home, enact a scene. No matter what it is, forget good and evil. Enact a scene that implies you have what you desire. And to the degree that you are faithful to that state, it will unfold in your world, and no power can stop it. For there is no other power. Nothing is independent of your perception of it. And this goes for the great philosopher among us who is still claiming that everything is independent of the perceiver, but that the perceiver has certain powers. It is not so. Nothing is independent of the perceiver. Everything is burned up when I cease to behold it. It may exist for another, but not for me. Let us make our dream a noble one. For the world is infinite response to you, the being you want to be. What do you want to be? You are the perceiver. You are the creator. And these words are to remind the dreamer the depths of your being stirring you, to know who you are, and to nobly imagine and dream this dream of life, lucidly. Now let us go into the silence. Enact a scene, enact a scene, enact a scene, enact a scene, enact a scene. Good.